Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever iteration of this new podcast called The Final Frontier. In it, we take a bunch of 20-somethings, college students, and we ask them about different things surrounding the whole idea of interstellar exploration. So right now, I just want to introduce my panel. It's five best friends, I think I would venture to say. So on our far left, you can begin for us.
Yeah, my name is Jerome Wachter, senior at Raven College.
My name is Kush, senior at Raven College.
My name is Vish Slanky, I'm a junior at Raven College.
My name is Matthew Alexander, I'm a senior at Raven College.
And I'm Chris Hassey, and I'm a junior at Raven College, and I'm going to be the host for this show. But what it really is going to be is going to be an open dialogue between all of us surrounding just some different topics. There'll be a little bit of humor, a little bit of seriousness. Hopefully you guys can get some enjoyment out of it. So the first topic that I want to just open with is a pretty broad one that I feel like all of us can speak a little bit about. What does space travel and the idea of going to outer space mean to us personally? So to be more specific, for me, when I think of space travel, I think of it as being the ultimate example of human exploration, and it's kind of our job and our duty as the smartest thing on planet Earth to explore the stars. What do you guys think?
When I think of like space travel, I think of that one thing we know very little about, and because there's so much we know there's left to explore, it's just it's the very beginning of just like trying to find out what's out there, see how far man can go.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to what I was thinking. It's more so about like, it's the one kind of thing we haven't explored. You know what I mean? We haven't explored so much of the planet besides the sea, obviously, but space is always that thing that's eluded us as a species.
I think at this point it's almost essential because for almost the entirety of human existence we've had something to explore, and now we've come to the point where we've explored the vast majority of Earth, and the only thing we have left really is space, so I think we should push more towards actually space exploration.
Yeah.
Bouncing off what everyone's been saying, like, space is like endless possibility in our opinion. You don't know what's out there. It could be infinite. So.
And there's been a lot of like indirect like positive results from just things we found about how the moon works, how what's the surface like, and with stuff with the Mars rover that's led to groundbreaking technologies that we use every day, like the memory foam.
How has the idea of what space travel is, how has that changed from when you were a kid to what it is now?
Girls go to Jupiter to get more stupid.
Yes, there's definitely that kind of stuff.
There's
Yeah.
definitely that. Yeah, I remember that a lot. Yeah, but when I was a kid, it was just like it was almost like a natural kind of thing. Like, and I was very thinking like the cartoon movies. You're in like some super spaceship and you just fly around and you can go anywhere in like a matter of milliseconds.
I always wanted to be an astronaut. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely wanted to be an astronaut when I was a little kid. That was what I wanted to dress up for Halloween and stuff like that.
Oh, I was Buzz Lightyear for Halloween.
Were you really?
4 years. From like 3 years old to like 7 years old.
It's because Buzz Lightyear was a boss, dude.
Like, I always, personally as a kid, like, I just thought like space was really cool. Now, like, I still think it's like cool and really like interesting, but I think it like really tests like all elements of human life. Like, it's lonely up there, it's quiet up there. There's a lot of like adversity, like a lot of like elements you don't know, and that just goes into like human character of like exploring and trying to find what's out there. Like, it just shows ultimately like what humans are capable of.
Yeah. But do you think other people think this also? Do you think most people our age are interested in space travel, or do you think, for the most part, people don't care?
I think there was a fall off in interest in space, I assume, around like between late 80s to maybe around early 2000s, but I think we're seeing starting like more of a resurgence, especially now with more and more space movies coming out. I see people starting to become more interested, asking why we haven't gone to Mars yet. I think also with the death of Neil Armstrong, and people realizing that he's gone his whole life since the moon and we haven't landed on Mars yet.
Yeah. Do you guys think he's a hero? Would you classify him as an American hero? Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong?
Hands down, it's easily.
In a way. I mean, I wouldn't put him in the same class as like an army hero, but
Okay.
he's definitely a hero in the sense of an explorer, like your Lewis and Clark.
Yeah. And do you think if you said Neil Armstrong to a class of third graders right now, you think they would know who it is?
No.
No?
They don't know a lot of superheroes are. That's a whole other topic. Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
No, continue. I want to hear it.
I don't know about in the U.S., but I remember they did something in Britain where they asked children who they thought was the first man on the moon, and I think like 60% of them said Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear is a boss.
So I'm gonna assume that a lot of kids don't know. But I mean, I assume they know we've been to them.
They probably also have not seen Toy Story if they really think it's Buzz Lightyear.
Well, he does look incredibly realistic, especially in that first movie. That's basically a horrible animation that they had. It was a great movie. Buzz Lightyear is awesome. I had a Buzz Lightyear action figure. Like, this is kind of besides the point, but I had a Buzz Lightyear action figure. He's cooler than Woody. No one likes Woody as much as Buzz.
Yeah, space versus Western, or everyone's gonna go for space.
Yeah.
What's that movie called?
What movie?
Aliens vs. Cowboys.
Alien versus. Wait, what?
That was with Harrison Ford. He did like
Daniel
he
Craig.
did like Aliens in the Wild West with Harrison Ford and somebody.
Wait, you
I never
said
saw
Daniel
that.
Craig was in it?
Yeah.
Our cameraman Vaughn had an excellent point. Daniel Craig, James
James
Bond
Bond.
is also in that movie. If that's any indication of how important space is.
American hero James Bond.
Greatest American hero of all British.
Wait, isn't Pierce Bronson?
superstar.
Wasn't he like British?
Pierce Brosnan was before Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig's the newest Bond.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't really care.
James Bond. There was a movie, a James Bond movie in space.
Which one was it?
It's been a while.
To Die, isn't it To Die Another Day? Or so, I don't remember which one it was.
Oh, Die Another Day.
James Bond in space. It's with the one with the moon.
Have any of you ever seen 2001
Moonraker.
A Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
No.
I would say it's by Stanley Kubrick. People say it's one of the best movies ever made. I think that it's shot very well. I think it's boring, but just the amount of stuff that they were able to do to display people in space, and I think that kind of opened up the sci-fi genre. And if it did that, I'd say it's very good because science fiction kind of leads to science fact and helps push more people towards being interested.
How important do you guys think sci-fi as a genre is to kind of galvanize the public into thinking that we should actually travel in space in real life? Because to be honest, 2001: A Space Odyssey is pretty abstract and odd if you think about the way. I mean, it is a crazy good movie, but if you think about the way it's actually shot and like, it's not really realistic, but it makes
It came
me
out in
interested.
1961, I think.
Yeah.
Too, so.
That was back when he was like on another level. He made A Clockwork Orange,
Yeah.
The Shining, all those movies. But yeah,
Yeah, I feel like sci-fi, it goes to creativity and your imagination, and then when you look at these things and you have smart, intelligent people that say, why can't we make this a reality? This is cool. Like with in Star Trek with doors that open on their own in the cell phone, stuff like that.
yeah, for sure.
One of Carl Sagan's more famous quotes, I'm going to push the quote, but he said something like, the more science fiction in the media, the more you'll see people like gravitate towards it, the more you'll see people have more of an interest in it. So it opens the way.
One of the questions I've had, and this is like off track, but like after watching Star Wars, you're just like, oh, will lightsabers become a reality? I don't know what they actually
They're
do.
freaking crazy when those are real.
Say you guys had the chance to go, if you had a chance to go to Mars. Say you could go, but it was a one-way trip.
Hell
At least
no.
it was a one-way trip, at least for most of your life. You probably wouldn't get back until you're at least like 60.
That is an actual thing, by the way. Elon Musk is setting up a program where he's going to send, I mean, people are applying for it currently, where they can go on a one-way trip to Mars to be the first people to colonize the planet.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
Why would you not?
Because you don't know what's gonna happen. And until like something.
But isn't that exciting?
There. It's exciting to an
It'd be
extent, but
thrilling.
what if it's just like you're setting yourself up there? You don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, it's one
Think
thing.
of it this
kind
way.
of passion.
In 3,000 years, when Mars is as developed as Earth and humans are on tons of different planets and moons, you're probably going to have a statue of you and a bunch of other people, like in where you were colonized.
Will they?
Yeah, you'll be remembered. You'll be right alongside Armstrong.
When I think
and Aldrin.
when I think of colonization of a different planet, you know, it really reminds me of Elysium. When
Oh.
the people that are capable, or the people that are healthy, wind up on that new planet where they have vast resources. People that aren't as fortunate are gonna be left to die.
I see that.
Just to provide some context, what is Lucian?
Was it Mark Wahlberg or is it Matt Damon?
Matt Damon.
I was thinking too.
They
It
always
was actually
It's the same
the
director who
fact
made
that
District 9. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
They actually offered Eminem the role.
Alright, no one cares, but okay.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
He would have been good.
The gross of that movie, it was $93 million, just so anyone can really understand how big science fiction creates science fact. You said earlier, $93 million was just the domestic total. If you look at the foreign, like if you look at the worldwide total gross, there was $286 million from that one movie alone. So if you could just, and that's pretty far out from what actual like what the technology that we have currently is. But I think it's interesting to see like the people who grow up to be scientists, who view these sci-fi movies, they're kind of influenced by them. I think in a way. Like a great example is in Back to the Future, they had a hoverboard, and think about all the kids who saw that hoverboard and are now trying to create it as engineers and scientists.
There's actually like I don't know if it's a prototype, but like there's something on the market right now that mimics a hoverboard. Something like $1,000 or something.
So right now, there's different programs that they've been setting up. They're all kind of in the media about colonizing Mars specifically. So does anybody have any ideas what I'm talking about, or
Yeah,
anything?
I find it hard to kind of wrap my head around such a colonization process to be sustainable. Because these planets are barren and inhabitable, although we have to make it habitable. We have to bring so much with us just to make it work. The amount of money this is going to take, I feel like only if there is colonization, it'll be a few rich elites that can afford to live in.
I think it can't just be one country or even two countries. It has to be a union of dozens, a bunch of countries that would be behind everything from, from the food shipping to the actual space exploration to the amount of money that would be necessary to actually put all of this together. It would have to be a joint effort.
Yeah.
You know what I like to see? Though everyone's talking about colonizing on Mars, but what about artificial habitats?
Do you mean like, for example, if you like build a space station?
Build a
like, it'd
space
be-
station and just like expand upon it.
Well, like the
Yeah.
ISS.
Yeah, kind of like that, but like more habitual in the sense that
Just for your common people?
for your common people.
I think that might actually be easier.
Yeah, I think that's easier than going to Mars.
It would probably have to start building it on Earth, launch into space, and then continue building it in orbit.
Yeah.
I think that would be easier.
It would take a while, but it's gonna
And
be.
Then from there you can colonize other planets.
Yeah.
You can bring it to places.
I mean, you know what it comes back to? It comes back to, it piggybacks off the ideas of the creativity within, the science fiction. Within Elysium, you see that Elysium was essentially an artificial habitat. It was a
Yeah.
planet.
This is the problem I see with a space station as the start of a colony. Like, it's still just an expense. What are these people doing for work up there that's going to bring revenue, that's going to make this viable? No one's just going to just throw money at this.
Exactly, but if you have an artificial habitat and people treat it as like, an investment to, maybe have a second home or something like that, maybe they could take big business. I don't know, not now, I mean, like, maybe it's
And it's more like a vacation spot that doesn't
But
really
no,
stay.
but what if it becomes like a necessity? You know what I mean? Like, what happens if the population keeps growing so exponentially and eventually we can't grow enough crops on Earth and we have to outsource it?
I think eventually it's going to have to be a necessity, so I prefer
Yeah.
for us to start sooner.
I think
rather
space
than-
colonization will become a necessity, just like we said. I think mainly when we're going to start running out of resources, or when resources are limited to the point where not everyone will not everyone will have access to them.
Well, look at the situation that happened in California with the drought. Like, California knew that there was a problem with the amount of rain and fresh water they were getting for years, but they could have been setting up like saltwater desalination plants all around the coast, but they weren't because they didn't want to spend the money. And now they wasted way too much time and they kind of screwed themselves over and they're all fucked up. So like, that could be a global scale if we don't start really considering space as like another avenue for, we just need.
Yeah, but you're talking about like a handful of plants. This is multi-million. Like, just the spacesuit itself is $12 million. I can't imagine how much.
It's a
parts-
multi-billion industry, man. They're going to say billions. It's going to be billions.
I'm talking about just the suit.
It's going to be in the
$12 million.
trillions. It's going to be in the low
Trillions, probably.
trillions.
Yeah, is there any other industry?
And then
industry that's in the trillions?
With the amount of money invested, you're going to want countries starting to say, well, we want to own this piece of
Yeah.
Mars. Right now we have treaties that say that no country can own a piece of whatever in space, but pretty soon people are just going to stop. They're going to start ignoring that.
That's a scary thought.
What, laying land
I
claims?
think it's gonna eventually be a race to colonize.
Okay, so would you guys go up? If you could claim land like you would be able to back in the Old West when America was first discovered,
Like the
would you go to space?
like when they gave out free land and like
Yeah, when they gave up as much
Kansas
as you
and
could
Wyoming.
take. Yeah, what would you do? Where would you try to go to? Like, what would you look for? Why would you try to take it? And would you even be willing to take it?
I mean, I would take whatever, just big flat land.
So a planet? You try to take a planet?
Well, no, not necessarily the whole planet. I mean, if you're talking about just like a section, like a large piece of land, you still have I don't want like a big ravine or whatever, or like or a canyon, not really a ravine.
Yeah.
But like just flat land you could build easily on.
when I imagine Mars like colonized, I just imagine like Australia over here.
Okay.
And
Well, that's funny. There's actually the Astronomical Society of Utah has been using like these crazy desert greenhouses to figure out what it's like. They're replicating the conditions of Mars and growing plants there. So like, I feel like it would be hilarious if someone would just like have this gigantic farmland in Mars. I would collect an asteroid field, for sure.
Speaking of, like, jumping off here, like all you guys are saying, I wouldn't want to go to Mars. I would be more comfortable with an artificial habitat.
Why would you want to go to Mars though?
Because you don't know what's going to happen there.
But you don't know what's going to happen in normal
With,
space.
with an artificial habitat, at least you know like, what you're getting yourself into. You
There's-
created that.
one of the problems with colonization of Mars is that Mars has less gravity,
Yeah.
and so someone born there, they said like if the average human height is, I think globally it's like 5'7", something like that. The average height on Mars, they would be much skinnier and much taller because of there's less gravity affecting their body.
Dikembe Mutombo.
So,
They could
yeah.
never come back. If
So
they were born
yeah,
there.
once they come back to Earth,
Why wouldn't they be able to?
They're
they
born
would
there,
feel
raised,
they would
yeah.
feel heavier.
Astronauts by alone who just leave and go for a couple months, come back, have to be like medically treated for like a month or so before they can go back to normal life.
Do they have muscular dystrophy or something like that? I didn't know.
Atrophy or something.
Yeah.
It sucks.
See, I think with like exploration, like you just said, like you know it's gonna be safer. I don't think it's a matter of like what's safe and what's not. Like with exploration comes risk. Like you have to be willing to take it, and you shouldn't be worried about like what's safe and what's not.
Okay.
Honestly.
I just like, would you do it?
I mean, if it's for the greater good, yeah. Like as far as like what I see like with exploration, like there's really educated individuals such as like Elon Musk. I'm a huge fan of him. We need more minds like him because I mean, with that kind of genius, like he has a plan and he's gonna carry out that plan. And following a leader like that, like there's always a success rate. With that comes a failure rate, like obviously risk. But I mean, it's for the greater good. You know, why not? I would do it.
I wouldn't go long term. Like I wouldn't spend my life there and then like come back when I'm 60. Like maybe go there like to visit. It's like vacation. I guess I wouldn't stay there.
And it's like it raises a lot of fear because you don't know what's gonna happen.
I mean, that's
I would rather not
that-
be the trial. I would rather be after the trial period is done.
See,
I
but
would
like-
rather be part of that.
Well, you wouldn't be seen as like a child. You'd be seen as a trailblazer. You'd be seen as an innovator.
Are any of you guys like this? Every astronaut that goes into space is willing to die. Are you willing to die to
No.
discover?
No.
No?
Yes.
You know.
I honestly, I think I am.
Yes, I am.
I do it.
You know, we have one life, and it's a short life, obviously.
I'll let you go and die, and I'll watch.
What would
you
it take for you to get into space then? Okay, so let's say this. What happens if the world is like completely overpopulated and they come to you and like, listen, we need
Why do they need us?
We need-
Why can't they send some other people?
we need an able-bodied Swiss man with the first name Jerome to go to space. Will you be humanity's last hope? Spoiler alert, our rockets aren't very good. You probably will die. Would you try it, or would you just doom the human race?
I don't know. I mean, the situation you're bringing up is highly improbable.
Yeah.
And
Why? Swiss make the best astronauts. Cheese and astronauts.
I'm completely unqualified. I don't know. It's. I'm not willing to be like pretty much like the Wild West frontier people and just go out and hope for the best and try to make a new life. Like that's I don't have the passion for that or the you know I don't have the will. Even if it meant possible a better future. Like even with like we've been talking for so long about different doomsday scenarios on Earth, overpopulation, food scarcity, blah blah blah. I don't think it's ever gonna get as bad as the worst case scenario suggests.
Why do we all want to come
Why
back
not?
so bad? Why do you want to come back?
Because I have a life here.
You
Yeah,
have a life
there.
You don't know that.
What do you mean I don't know that?
You're
The
setting
life
yourself up.
there
You're gonna
is
begin
not-
from nothing. You literally have to begin from nothing. You don't know what's there.
I'm
You know what's gonna happen.
I'm gonna be in the hands of the most capable scientists.
But you
on
make
Earth.
it like you're okay. Like
That's far better than the situation I'm in right now.
yeah, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, but you're making it like you can bring people with you. It's not just you in a space
It's not
shuttle.
gonna be
like,
you alone.
There's hundreds of you. There's hundreds of like literally the brightest minds that the human race can produce at that time. Go out in space,
The opportunities
make
on Earth
claims.
are
I think-
appealing to me than
honestly, I think
proving
if you're-
myself on Mars.
I think if
Visiting, yes. Visiting's
So you think
visiting school.
well then okay, so we're not all as optimistic about space then. So some of us think space exploration is cool only if it's beneficial, which is
No.
more you guys.
you're twisting it.
No,
You're
I
asking.
believe it.
I think like space exploration is the best. You know, I think it's a necessity for the future. But if you're asking me personally to go into space and not
It's
be able
not
to come
you
back,
that do it.
I
It's
wouldn't
not
come
you
back.
that do
There are plenty of ponds.
Yeah,
Throughout history,
there's
always
plenty
plenty
of
of ponds.
people that are willing to go. Look,
I don't know if
he's
they're
willing to
ponds,
go.
though.
He's willing to go. Vaughn's willing to go. You're willing to go.
But
Let's
your
go.
name
You
will
guys
be
there.
there.
My
Your name
question
would
is-
be etched into human history.
Yeah, but you'll be dead and you won't be able
I don't care.
to realize
I don't
that
care.
you're in
My
history.
question is this: you guys like are for it, but why not? Like you have to stand for what you believe in, but you guys aren't willing to do it.
Yeah, I'm not willing to be a trial for it. That's what I'm just saying. I
I'm
believe
saying
in
it's a
it.
trial.
Do you think
So,
the king
like-
and queen of England cared about going to the new world and colonizing? No, they sent pawns to do
Yeah,
that.
so what I'm saying is this. There's 4 of us who would get on a ship,
And never come
right?
back.
Would get on a ship like if honestly if people ask me right now if you wanted to be going in space, I would seriously be considering it because I think it's awesome and I'm really interested in the idea of exploration. Whereas you guys are more in like space exploration is a necessity, but maybe not for me. That's what I'm getting at.
The only thing
Yeah.
that would scare me about going there is the possibility of like my suit breaking and the air leaking out.
Exactly.
That's,
So-
that's the only thing.
Yeah.
That touches on
And
what
then
happens
if I'm on the planet, if I knew that they were pumping out oxygen into the planet, as in if by the time I got there was pretty much breathable, then I would definitely be 100% for it.
Okay,
Even
so
That's
before
the other
that,
thing too. The theory behind turning Mars into a place that has an atmosphere that can hold conditions in real life, or a little optimistic. There's been other theories that are really sound, but when you're going into an area where you really don't know a whole lot, there's just little variables that just screw everything over.
Well, right now the main problem is Mars doesn't have a good atmosphere.
That we're literally asking.
okay, so let's just say the biggest one right now is Elon Musk has been advocating to shoot nuclear missiles. Do you know more about this? To shoot nuclear missiles.
Yeah, he wants to nuke Mars just to speed up the process of colonization. He believes that'll like warm it up rather than waiting generations. As Matt was saying earlier, he wants to speed it up. He actually wants to get this going.
I'm not sure if I saw on camera.
Yeah, Matt was saying behind the scenes.
Want me to
So
explain it?
yeah, if you could explain it, and then I have a question.
It was one of the possibilities was we would send these huge machines, these huge gas-powered machines onto Mars, and all they would do is just pump. It's CO2 that cars pump out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just pump out greenhouse gases into the point where Mars's atmosphere just becomes thicker and thicker, and becomes to the point where it's pretty much equal to Earth.
How does it keep everything
It's the
stable
same
way?
It's the same way as what's happening with global warming right now. Is that how our atmosphere keeps getting thick? Mars technically has an atmosphere. It's just very, very thin.
So would these machines have to like continually keep pumping?
It would just keep pumping out greenhouse
So
gases.
this-
forever?
Well, no, not forever.
How
Once
many
it gets to a
years? How
certain
many years
point,
would it take to even get it?
Well,
They
They have no
say
idea,
they
it's all-
think maybe 2-3 generations.
But this is my thing then. So do you think it's better for Elon? Let's just say that will cost $3 trillion. Let's say.
And Elon Musk would have to pay for it himself. That's what, in my opinion.
I
No,
think
no,
the
just let me
science
finish the
is
question.
Not exact.
So if it takes $3 trillion to do that, or you could put $3 trillion towards improving the situation on Earth, what should you do?
Mars.
Mars?
1.5, 1.5.
You can't. You gotta put it all.
One-on-one. One-on-one.
I would say Mars because in my opinion, like with Earth, you can only fix so much. You know what I mean?
Alright.
Like you gotta explore.
With the current situation happening in the world right now, I wouldn't invest in Mars. I would invest back to home country.
You both would?
Because think about it this way, like Mars is it's of concern, or even space travel is of our concern, but is it of our immediate concern? If we have $3 trillion right now, I wouldn't say so.
Think about
Because
it
we
this
don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
to
Think
be
about
able
it
to
this way.
colonize it.
Tomorrow, for all we know, an asteroid could come and hit Earth and completely wipe out humanity. And the only thing left of humanity would be not even 100 years of radio waves just floating out into space. That would be it. And of course, if any alien picks up on that, they're not going to know what it is. It's just going to sound like mumbled garbage.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
I'm saying that if humanity wants an actual future, they should do this.
yeah, but I'm just saying though, like with the problems happening in the country, this is a separate subject altogether. But with everything that's happening in the world right now, I would invest $3 trillion.
I'm just saying the Earth can be perfect, but it can be wiped out at any point.
You always have
Well,
to say-
there's
you
just
always
some
have to
science
say-
we can't like confirm until we actually get there. Like for example, with all the science that went into prior to the first moon landing, they had this serious concern that when the spacecraft lands on the moon, that there would be like 10,000 feet of dust, some astronomical number of dust based on calculations of how dust would be created over so many years. Dust turned out to be only inches thick, but that was a serious concern. They had to design the spacecraft to actually be able to land on this massive amount of dust that they thought was on the moon. There's other variables that's going to be like that on Mars, where you just don't know till you land there, and it's like trial by error.
Well, I mean, now we have robots and we have things that test.
Yeah, the Mars
all that
rover's
stuff.
been there.
Yeah,
I
but
think, I
tag
think the margin for error is far lower.
teaming with him.
Even if there is a huge margin for error, like it's
I
still
think humanity has to do something.
I mean, the opportunity cost of going to space is so huge.
Yeah, but let me tell
Think
you.
about the first people in Africa, the first people in the cradle of human birth, when they said we can stay here and be comfortable, or we can go out and see what's beyond.
We have to get out of the comfort
Yeah.
zone.
Think about it in a business perspective, though, right? So if you have $3 trillion with problems that are happening that you need to solve, versus something that you don't have enough information on, you're taking a tremendous amount of risk to invest in that area.
I think we have a large amount of information, and even if it fails, then we know we can't do it right.
But if we had a large amount of information, don't you think they would have invested
Well,
enough already? They haven't, the U.S., not even just the U.S., multiple countries haven't invested.
but we're looking to do it. We're looking to plan a manned mission to Mars. I think within the
Well
next
then,
20 years.
okay, so let's say this then. We're all in the U.S. right now, but let's say because I think we referenced earlier this whole idea of space interest kind of dipping in the 80s, and I think the reason why is because of the end of the Cold War. I mean, the real reason we were so interested in getting up to the moon was to show the Russians during the Cold War that we had the technological capability and have these like super long range missiles.
Sputnik,
But once
right?
the Cold War, yes, Sputnik and cosmonauts, all that crap. So once that Cold War kind of subsided, people stopped being so interested in NASA, and the budget for NASA didn't really increase with inflation as much, to the point where it was kind of, at some points it was on its way out. So now that there's kind of a resurgence in space, like interest and exploration, we're having these conversations again. But could you imagine how different it would be right now if you found out? Because I know for a fact, right, there's a lot of Asian countries, especially China, that are dead set on getting to the moon. So could you imagine if there was could you see a situation where there would be a similar kind of race to colonize space?
I actually heard a joke. I heard someone say that they hope that when China goes to the moon, they accidentally knock over the U.S. flag, and so that they say that would kickstart the space race. all
That would be
over
awesome. It's just like this rivalry.
again.
Like, ooh, just throw it into
Yeah, they
the.
just accidentally
throw it
land
in
on
the
where we landed.
That'd be dope.
I know this is one of the things we're going to discuss later in the podcast, but that's a scary topic.
Well, let's go right to it. What are the scariest things about space for us?
Well, adding on to what I said earlier, and what you mentioned, it's a scary thought to think that there's going to be a space race to colonize points of space. I think eventually it might even lead to a space war, which at this time, especially for me, it's kind of hard to, it's kind of hard to fathom, right? So
Star
that's,
Wars.
That's
and
what I think
freaking
about
really-
it. And the whole concept that space is just endless. You don't know what's beyond.
Yeah, the other thing that's kind of like the endless part that scares me. If space is expanding, and space is what makes up literally space, what is it expanding into? Like, what is it? I don't know.
What if it's just like a galaxy within a galaxy within a galaxy?
Like
Well,
in
I
Men in
mean-
Black.
You've heard of the multiverse theory, right?
Very little bit.
There's multiple universes, and there could be an infinite amount of universes. So I wonder if that could also mean that each universe still exists, like they exist like right next to each other.
Parallel-
Eventually they can expand to the point where they become
Touch.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking about parallel universes?
Yeah.
Essentially?
This we call it multiverse theory.
Yeah.
I think that's also horrifying.
For me, like, scariest thing personally would just be like I saw the movie Gravity, Sandra Bullock did a great job in that movie. So just floating in space and just floating around, because I mean, you're not gonna get stopped unless you hit something, which is really like unlikely in space, So that's it. But I mean, fear is merely an illusion. So I mean, it's gonna happen in space, fear. But that's one thing that always, yeah.
Some black holes too, like that I think they was just discovered when I was about the size of 1,000 suns. That's big.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Mission to Mars?
No.
Okay, so in Mission to Mars, one guy, they have like these little jetpack things, and they're going to Mars. you didn't figure
Oh,
that out.
really?
Yeah. So
I really thought it was Venus.
they had these little jetpack things that they use to propel themselves through space, right? And the one guy runs out of fuel and he starts floating away from the space station, and they
Oh wait,
can't
no,
grab
I
him.
did see this movie. I
And
thought
he's
it was
like-
something else.
And he's like floating away, and like the one girl, she was like, Jerry! And he's just like, I'm dead. Sorry, Lisa. And literally opens up his like helmet and instantly freezes. And I just think I feel like that's the freakiest
What
thing to
movie
me.
was this?
It's called Mission to Mars. It was here. I'll look it up.
Because it was I saw another movie where they went to one of Saturn's moons. They went to Titan, and something similar happened where a guy had to get out of the spaceship in order to repair something in the hull, and he got disconnected and he was floating away, and the spaceship wouldn't be able to turn around in time to save him. So
And he just opened up too and froze.
I think he opened up. I think I think it was just a rumor, but apparently NASA gives their astronauts cyanide pills that they're supposed to keep in their spacesuits in case something like that happens. So I think he.
Wait,
took
but how would they get at it if it was in their spacesuit? They would
I
like.
think it is.
put their arm
I think it's like the same way how they have like a water tube or something like that.
Oh,
They
really?
have access to it some
Yeah.
way.
Like death tube.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hope you don't.
I need some water.
Would you guys take the helmet off? What would you do in that situation?
What if I
I
was
would
floating
cut-
out? I think I would let myself float for a long
While.
time before I had the
Yeah.
confidence to do it. But yeah, that movie was in 2000. It's a pretty cool movie. It's literally, dude, it's a lot like The Martian. A guy gets stuck, like, there was a previous mission to Mars and they think everyone's dead, but they actually find out that one guy's been living on the planet for a while. There's aliens in it and stuff too, so it's not the most.
Like aliens are like the father of the human race.
Yeah. Gary Sinise is in it. Annotation, we might put a picture of Gary Sinise in there, just so I know, editing purposes. But yeah, the idea, I feel like another thing that freaks me out is like the idea of aliens. Like, not. I don't know like how to explain it. I'm not saying like aliens in the sense of like people with test tubes and like prodding you and having crazy alien blasters. Just literally like we have no idea what's out there, and we can find out there's some kind of crazy organism that might not even be intelligent or anything, but if we just discover it, who knows what happens.
I was reading about how not only is there such a high percentage chance that other life exists in the universe, but there's also a high percentage chance that there's another life form that exists in the universe that's virtually exactly the same as humans. Like, so it would have had the same exact human evolution. That would be pretty much exactly the same.
So like they have the same like, well they wouldn't have the same technology.
So
and stuff.
they might not have the same technology, but one could come here and we would see them as,
Really? That's freaking nuts.
When you think about it, that's like what you would want, is to think that we're the only human race in the whole universe. Or
Wait.
like we're the only like species within the whole universe.
Do you guys believe in aliens? Do you think there are aliens?
Yeah.
I'm like 50-50. I can see very good reasons why there would be. I can also see good reasons why there wouldn't be. But you know, I don't discredit the idea.
What are
There's
some of the
a-
reasons why you don't think aliens would exist?
I just come back to my Christian beliefs and
Yeah,
background.
religion.
There's a theory that humans, since we haven't run into another life yet, it might be because we're the first ones. Not necessarily that we're the only ones with it. We're the first or we're the most advanced, because they said that theoretically, in the universe there would have to be one alien. There would have to be one species that's the first one to go and become the first one to evolve to the point of being advanced life. So they said there's always a possibility that humanity is the first, and you never know.
I think we're the only life form in this galaxy. You don't know how many galaxies are out there. I feel like.
They can only intelligent life in this galaxy.
Yeah, only time.
Because there still might be, you never know, there could always be microbes, there could always be germs somewhere
true.
on a moon.
Sure.
I know growing up though, it was like when you learned about each planet, you found out that some planets were you can't live there. As soon as you like Pluto, as soon as you land, you're dead. Or you're not dead, you just freeze up. So
We think it would be in the ice of Mars or I think the moon Titan, we think that there's oceans underneath the surface that we can't see. So we wanna explore that.
Just get a big drill.
It's much food.
Kind of like that. What was it? Armageddon. That movie.
Oh my god, Armageddon. That's a
Really?
great movie.
Yeah, there was a Ben Affleck. Was it Ben Affleck that was in it?
Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
Bruce Willis,
There's a quote.
Liv Tyler.
Ben Affleck asked Michael Bay, why would NASA hire a bunch of oil drillers and teach them how to be astronauts and not just teach astronauts how to drill? And he just told them fuck off. No lie.
Yeah.
When was Armageddon? Armageddon was 1998. So yeah, let's kind of shift into the next thing that I want to talk about. So we've been referencing all these different kind of artifacts that exist in our society that we kind of enjoy as entertainment in different forms. So what are some of the biggest sci-fi things that we have kind of been interested in ourselves, and how closely do you think Hollywood or whatever other source of entertainment that you're getting from is mirroring what is actually happening? So for example, The Martian has come out recently. It took the world by storm actually. It right now has a gross of $385 million.
Those are worldwide sales?
No, that's just domestic.
Wow.
Yeah, I can look up the current number right now.
Yeah, just pretty
Yeah, if you can look it up for me, that'd be fantastic. But the thing that's interesting about that is a lot of people were concerned and were generally considering The Martian as being as accurate as you can get to a NASA scientist or astronaut that would survive on that planet. Like what he was doing could actually be done. And there was a lot of other videos and feedback that came from other people who were like prominent in aerospace technology saying this is real, this actually could happen, this is fake, this couldn't happen. But I think it's interesting to think that something like The Martian or a movie like that that grosses so much and is so popular could actually be considered as accurate. So what kind of artifacts do you guys hold in your mind as being like really important about space, and do you think that they're accurate at all?
Well, I think about Interstellar. I saw a video today that interviewed scientists about different aspects of the movie, what's fake, what's true, what's plausible. And surprisingly, there's a lot that's plausible or true in Interstellar. The time differences, with theory of relativity, the rate at which you move through space changes your time frame compared to other people. That whole scene where they're on that planet for what, a couple hours turned to 25 years on Earth. That's very real. That's just crazy to think that you could be an astronaut, leave and come back and watch your kids go over.
Just a quick note, I was actually incorrect. It's a domestic total for The Martian of $202 million with a worldwide gross of $464 million. And then for Interstellar, which we're talking about right now, it's $188 million domestic and the worldwide total is $675 million. So you can just kind of get a sense of how popular those are. But I don't know who else saw Interstellar. For me, Interstellar was one of my favorite movies of the year. Came out 2014. Towards the end of 2014, in November. So, kind of, I guess I would consider 2014 and 2015. But I saw it in theaters, and I remember being blown away. And I think that kind of awe and like just magnitude. I feel like that movie has a great sense of scale to it. It just kind of connects with the whole idea of what space is in my own mind. Is that it is limitless. When you look in, there's a great. I don't want to provide any spoilers, but there's a great part towards the end of the movie where he ends in this weird construct, and it's all it's one small space, but it's infinitely spread out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I think like this whole idea and the scope of that is kind of like what I think of as space overall. It's just a constant, boundless creation. So
I've heard explanations about looking what dimensions after 4 dimensions looks like, and I think it's either the 5th or 6th dimension. You basically, the way you fold things, it's like you see all of time, future, and past like a loaf of bread. You can see this different slits individually. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but it's crazy.
It's awesome though.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Just the fact like when there was issues on Earth and like he had to go, he had no other choice. That might resemble what happened in the future here on Earth. Like and just the fact like I really like the character that Matthew McConaughey played. Just because like he battled with himself, and that's what astronauts do when they go. And eventually, when we do go and colonize, that's what people are gonna have to face.
Well, we were kind of talking about a similar thing though. Would you be if you were in Matthew McConaughey's position? Would you stay with your family and spend the extinction of the human race with your children, or would you leave your family behind for the chance of possibly keeping the human race going on by establishing a
If I was
colony?
a father, I don't think I would go. If I didn't have children.
But that means that the
Yeah.
human race is
This,
on.
this situation is specific because he's a trained astronaut.
Exactly.
Well, then what if they make you a trained astronaut?
Yeah.
They can't. It doesn't. It comes. Yeah,
happen
it's so
all the
many years
time.
of experience.
Yeah.
I mean, but hypothetically.
Right now, I'm a college student. If I had a kid as a college student, and they tell me, "Oh, you gotta go to
The
space,"
thing what got me with that movie is
Race.
like
I'm
was that
able to.
Like, I mean, I would, because I would leave my family. Like, I would, hope they're alright and stuff. But like, they're gonna die if I don't go. So you can sacrifice yourself for them. Why not?
Well, this is the thing. They're definitely gonna die if you leave. You just won't be with them. Because, like, that's the thing about the movie that you find out. He thinks that he can save his family and they're gonna save.
Oh yeah, they lied to him. Right?
They lie to him,
They
so
lied to him.
essentially leaving means you're just
Spoiler
saying
alert.
your family's. Yeah, spoiler
Yeah, but
alert.
you'll see the generations
Sorry.
after. You'll see the generations after.
Yeah.
It's about the human race. Not
Yeah,
just
it's about the human race.
Well,
I edited that out.
think
But
about
Astronaut
priorities.
astronaut training doesn't take that long. It takes at most 2 years. according to this.
They'll get you
All
ready.
the just like your academic background
Yeah.
and prerequisites for that.
Just think about it. If you're,
Extensive.
like, let's just say in Jerome's case,
Whoa.
it's a college major.
You can learn basic physics and you can learn basic physics
I feel
in less than a year.
physics. I feel physics.
You can still learn it if you have the right teachers. You can learn it in less than a year. You can learn how to
If the
fly a
fate
plane
of the
in
human
less than a
race
year.
You
was
have to.
applied to you,
So
I'm
let's
pretty
just-
sure.
I'm pretty
Let's
sure
extend it
the
to 4 years. It's gonna take 4 years. Isn't that long of a time?
I'm
4
pretty
years is
sure-
a college education.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm pretty sure if the faith of the human race, it wouldn't be bestowed upon us.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are we? Sorry. Who the hell are we? That they would
There are
bestow
very
the human
more
race
qualified
upon
people.
Well,
us.
who said it's a one-man job? We said that it might be a group of people.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about as an
It's-
individual.
Okay, so let's put it this way then. Let's say the Earth is gonna collapse and everyone on the Earth is going to die, except for the 200 people that are going to be put as astronauts onto this space thing. Then would you not want to be on that? Would you not want to be on that shuttle just because you're not
That's
qualified?
That's a dire circumstance. We're not talking about a dire circumstance.
Yeah, we are. Interstellar is the most dire circumstance of all.
Yeah.
The Earth is
The Earth
dead.
was dying.
The brown dust.
The Earth was dying. The plant, their crops are dying out.
Yeah.
They barely
But to
had
be
any.
fair, I haven't seen Interstellar.
Well, you should have seen it.
Thank you for ruining and spoiling.
You
the-
didn't even want to see it. You said you hate Matthew McConaughey. So
Yes, I
you
hate
said-
Matthew McConaughey.
So there we go.
He
Because of those, because of those Lincoln commercials.
Great actor.
But nonetheless.
The looking commercial was great, especially the South Park.
Yeah, that's South Park.
It
Nonetheless.
was a great movie.
Well, then I'll paint the picture for you then. So the Earth is dying. It's becoming it's becoming a husk. You can't grow plants on it. Agriculture is done. You can't have livestock anymore. Everyone's really sick because of the pollution in the environment and the atmosphere. So everyone's gonna die on planet Earth, right? And they're sending 300 people in a space shuttle to try to find another planet. Whether that is successful or not, who knows? But there's who knows? Maybe they can find something. So you're telling me that you wouldn't want to be on it because you're not qualified and you failed physics?
Well,
No,
that's
that's a different story.
Say it's not even because you're not qualified. Just say that they did a genetic test and they found out that you're predisposed
Yes, and I'm willing to
to,
go.
Yes.
to doing
willingly
well.
go.
That's a
That's a different
situation,
circumstance.
the situation in the real world right now, though.
Well, that's because there's not that dire circumstance. But you're
Yeah.
saying you wouldn't leave your family behind in the other situation.
Yes, if there was a dire circumstance, I would.
Okay.
But I'm not in a dire circumstance. So it's
Also,
hard to
it's also, I mean, I could say yes or no here, but once you actually have a family, I mean.
Well, yeah, it's all hypotheticals.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what we'll really do? But I think I would go.
Also, what extent do you want my family though? I mean, my parents, my family. I mean, I had a kid and wife. Like, what does family mean?
Family, let's just say what you have now. Your parents.
Like I said, if I was a parent, I don't think I would go.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
that'd make it pretty tough.
I don't know. I think I feel like you gotta do the human race stuff.
Unless they were full-grown adults. If they were full-grown adults.
But this is the thing. Like they're dead anyway. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, so
everyone.
I guess in the end, you're doing it for your kids.
But what did you want to
You're
say?
doing it
That's
for
ultimate
yeah. You're
That's
like
ultimate sacrifices.
Like, so this is the options. Either everyone dies and you have no shot of extending the life of the human race, or everyone you know dies and you have a slight chance of extending the human race. Those are the two options.
But what did you want to spend the final moments of your life? where
Yeah,
you
but is
existence?
it, but I'm saying morally, is it okay for you to justify your own desires over that of the entire species?
You can't call it moral because everyone has different morals and ideals. So it honestly depends on the individual, in my opinion.
But there are definitely social mores. Like there's huge morals that everyone upholds. Like you can say murder is a bad thing, and 99% of the population can say yes. I know for a fact a lot of us play video games in this room. So there's a lot of great video games about space. Does anyone want to talk about any of those?
So media antics, as you mentioned earlier, like all you guys here, I didn't see it much today. So what really captivated my interest for space was Star Wars, Apollo 13, then also the game Halo, which I know a few of you here.
Well, what do you think impacted you more, Apollo 13, the mission to Apollo 13, or video games? Honestly.
I would say video games.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'd say video games.
Just because you play them a lot more.
Star Fox for me was really the big outer space, video game that really grabbed me, as a kid playing that game. I didn't really dwell much in Halo or Dead Space. They didn't play Mass Effect, but definitely video games definitely have, because of the whole interactive element that you're kind of immersed in the environment, whereas other forms of media kind of passive.
Yeah.
Adding on to what he said, like we mentioned earlier about how when space colonization becomes a thing and artificial habitats become another thing, Halo like sits right there because I'm not a few of the other games do as well, but Halo is one of the franchises that I like playing a lot, and the establishment of the UNSC is just actually like, you know, I feel like that's something that will actually become a reality. You know, the United Nations Space Command. Once we colonize space, I think that's going to be the structure of this government, of what's going to regulate space. So I think it's a very realistic approach.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, for me, in terms of video games, I think the one that influenced me the most was Mass Effect, and I kind of encountered that one later. It wasn't really when I was so young that I didn't really understand space. I understood that Mass Effect is pretty far flung from what is actually happening, and how accurate it is about like how our own development in aerospace technology unfolds. But the general concept, without giving away a lot of spoilers, is that humanity's exploration in space is actually kind of accelerated because we find remnants of technology from past, more advanced species. And then using those different, they're different devices, I don't want to give away their name, using those different devices and tools that we discovered, we were able to enter like this whole kind of interplanetary democracy type thing, and we kind of met a bunch of other not human races, like alien species that commune with the human race, and it's all about kind of how democracy shifted from kind of a planetary level to an entire solar system. So does anyone else have any ideas about like Mass Effect or the kind of diplomacy that's highlighted there and how it would affect us if we would actually discover, other aliens?
It makes me wonder if we ran into alien species and they had like an alien council, like they had in Mass Effect, how they would view us. Would they view us as primitive and violent, or would they see us as equals or potential equals? Would they try and lift us up, or would they just try and stay away from us?
Yeah.
I don't know if
If
this is
they're more
accurate.
advanced than us technologically, I totally see them as primitive. It's just based on our history, and it's just be easy to label us as primitive.
I don't know if this is accurate because I've only played Mass Effect 1, I didn't even finish it, but it seems as if the human race was kind of viewed as inferior, and Shepard, one of the main characters, was viewed as an inferior race, and therefore he couldn't get into the Spectres, become a Spectre.
Those games are awesome. Just one last part. Do you have any video games that you can think of that are real good? Dead Space or anything that you played, or
I don't really play video games.
not a big gamer?
Yeah, sorry.
More about movies,
More movies.
TV and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Any books?
Futurama? You watch Futurama?
No.
No.
Futurama is a great show. I want to talk about Futurama. So, just an indication of how
Same people that made The Simpsons.
yeah, the same creative minds that created The Simpsons decided to make Futurama, which is this. It's a similar art style and a similar kind of brand of humor, but it's based on the futuristic development of New York City and how
It's like 1,000 years in the future.
1,000 years in the future there are aliens and humans cohabitating on Earth.
New York City 2.
Yeah, it's called New York
New-
City
New-
2.
That's New York.
New New York.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
old New York is like underneath.
Mhm. What do you guys think about like this humor-based approach to sci-fi, and do you think that that's a good thing? Because I mean, it kind of cheapens, like in that they operate at like a UPS almost, like an interplanetary delivery system, and they kind of make jokes about space and space travel all the time. So do you think making light of the gravity of traveling to different planets and having aliens in our own lives cheapens it, or do you think that that's a good way to kind of expose people to?
I think it's fantastic. It opens up possibilities for jokes and humor that just aren't available in fixed, realistic context.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets people excited for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, it's either the first episode or the second episode. It was, I remember he was doing his first delivery and he was doing it to the moon. And they got into their ship and he asked them if he could do the countdown. And they started doing 10, 9,
Yeah.
8. And then by the time he hit 7, they were already at the moon. And he just like quietly counted down to 1, like by himself.
I always think comedic relief is always a good thing. Whenever addressing any type of topic.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen the movie Watchmen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's a really cool idea in the end of Watchmen, and it kind of fits with alien interaction also. So there's so much like war and strife, and you talked earlier about this whole idea of space war. So I think if we would discover maybe a hostile alien force, that would, I feel like, kind of immediately end all conflict on Earth between countries, because we would all kind of unite under this banner of humanity in defense, because we wouldn't be able to, like, there's no one country that'd be able to just fight off alien invaders. So I think, do you guys think that if we would ever find like a hostile alien race, that would kind of create world peace and at least world cooperation as a
At least
result?
temporarily.
For the time being, I think so.
Yeah, at least temporarily.
Yeah, we would definitely have a use for our nukes, that's for sure.
We'll just stockpile and just wait for mutual destruction.
Russia has like 14,000, I think we have 12,000.
North Korea would actually cooperate with the US.
I don't know, I think they're lost cause.
They would be
They
our
live their own
sacrifice.
world. Well, Kim Jong-un lives in their own world. There is people suffering.
But yeah, I think we all band together at least temporarily.
So that's a positive that you can get out of space travel. I mean, the positive upon
Yeah, that's a positive.
Yeah.
The end of the human race is coming to the alien race.
Yeah.
What a positive. We're uniting. Kumbaya.
Have you guys ever read any popular books about space travel? Or anything to do with space? I think one of the biggest ones, I don't know if anyone else has read it, War of the Worlds is crazy.
Oh, I saw the movies and see
I was gonna mention earlier that
the newer one, the one with
adaptation.
Tom Cruise.
But if you, I don't know when War of the Worlds was first written. Pretty sure it's old.
It was a radio podcast, broadcast, wasn't
It was 1898 was when it was first produced. It was a book by H.G. Wells, actually, initially. So if you can imagine, this is a complete opposite of Futurama in the sense of it's not like a funny, lighthearted way to go about space exploration. It's actually terrifying because it's about a bunch of alien invaders that come and almost take over and enslave the human race. And luckily they're thwarted by disease and other problems that they encounter in Earth's atmosphere. But I mean, we see a good example of this kind of appeal to pathos in our own kind of content currently. I mean, you look at Gravity, and Gravity, I feel like Gravity kind of is more scary about going to space than go to space, you know what I mean? It's more negative. But you look at a movie like Signs, M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, if you guys have seen that.
That was actually pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah, so what do you think that those kind of movies and books and whatever that are really kind of scary in a sense, negative towards space exploration because they kind of turn people off, or has it turned you off at all towards space exploration?
I remember when Gravity came out, a lot of people were talking negatively about space. They said, "Oh, I'll never go up there."
Yeah.
So, I guess when it comes to the stuff that just scares people about it, people want to be like excited about it. They don't want to be reminded of the dangers.
Mm-hmm.
So I read a book. Well, this is not like science fiction. It's more, it's the truth, I guess. But Brian Greene, I read a book by him called Fabric of the Cosmos when I was in my early years of high school, and it's more about theoretical physics, and it makes you question a lot about what reality actually is, what actually is space-time, and it touches more on parallel universes. So it puts space in this perspective, this whole science, like in this physical perspective, which you kind of don't really think about, I guess you could say. And it shows about how, as humans, if we are able to survive, or if our body can actually withstand, that
The rigors of
extremities,
space.
the extremities of space, and it makes you question a lot. So like, I don't know, I can't really get into depth of it 'cause I read it, I really didn't understand a lot of it because
Yeah.
it talks about quantum physics.
I think that's another reason why more people are interested in space, is because it's so confusing to think about. Like you were talking about multiverse theory, like I don't understand that at all, and I feel like that's off-putting to a lot of people because like, if you can't wrap your head around like these concepts, why are you going to be invested in them? You know what I mean? So I think that's an issue.
Yeah, like as a kid, like you're just like, oh wow, space is so cool. But then as you get older, you realize all the physics, all the math that goes into it, and you're just like, wow, it's just like astronauts. Like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, they're just like physically fit people that just go into space. It's not that. They're like just super smart, and like you don't know that until you get older. How much like work actually goes into like what they do. It's actually rocket science.
Touching on that and thinking about that, like, thinking about the possibility of space and space exploration and whatnot, Einstein touched on the subject of the speed of light. It's like hard to fathom the idea that one day maybe humans might be able to travel at the speed of light.
Space travel has always been kind of this idea of countries really interested in
exploration. For us, we think of NASA. If you ask people what space in the United States, they're going to say NASA every time. And that's a federal government program. But we're seeing now a lot of people kind of more interested in commercializing space and getting the business aspect in. Some of the biggest ones, there's a program, so Richard Branson set up called Virgin Galactic. SpaceX is another company established by Elon Musk. Bill Nye opened his own science aerospace technology company. There's a bunch of different people kind of registering for these trips to Mars and whatnot. If they're fake or real, it's up to the people signing up. But what do you guys think about the people trying to make money on space even though we're not even up there yet?
Is Virgin Galactic the same company that's charging like 10 grand for you to fly to like the outer rim of the Earth's atmosphere
It's more
for
than
like,
that.
for like an hour or
It's
something?
like 150.
150
Yeah, it's like 150.
200,000 like
Well, they said they hope that in 40 years it would be something that the average family could easily afford.
yeah.
They said it'd be just like taking a trip to Disneyland. So,
Well, Virgin Galactic brands itself as the first, excuse me, they're the world's first commercial space line, which is nuts to think about. Like, if you're thinking about, like, people can go to space, like, as if they were going to Disney World, that'd be awesome. Well, do you guys think that's awesome, or?
Yeah.
I think it's just that countries have kind of dropped the ball when it comes to space explorations. All we're really seeing now are, we're just seeing robots. I mean, that's still interesting, but it would be far more interesting to some actual people.
Yeah.
So companies just filling in the gap.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that'll be profitable for those people? Because they're investing millions upon millions in technology and
$200,000
research.
a pop just to fly to the outer rim of so the atmosphere is. I'm assuming that's a high profit margin.
I mean,
Yeah.
Just like how when NASA first sent men to the moon, I mean, it's not only just actually profiting. They won't just profit from the people that they send up there. They'll profit from the technology that they're developing and the patents that they're making that they'll be able to use in other world
Mhm.
applications.
Maybe even license it one day.
Yeah.
Not only from like the space programs that you're mentioning, but also like from the movies. Like one main thing that they do is they're trying to make money, and one reason why we're so interested in it is because humans are curious. They're in it to make movies. Like they obviously, to make money. Obviously, want to spread the word about space, but they know that humans are interested in space, for obvious reasons. So that's why these like space movies are usually all big hits. Gravity, Interstellar, and Martian in the last 4 years, they've been like top movies.